Yes, you did. Sorry. I'm so sorry.
So it looks like I'm keeping them all. Okay. Pizza one. Well, the pizza one. Pizza, it's the best one.
Oh, yes. Should I corral them for you?
That's why you're here. That's why we bring Joey today.
Well, yeah,
Our valiant volunteers. You always like the father guy. Apparently.
We used to get the stick that kind of smoothly I'm sure they use this.
I'll take one.
That was phenomenal. That was an iconic moment. Years ago.
I'll give you back
She did. I told her, I was like, hey, you fucked yours up. I got you this. And she was like, thanks. She could joke about it because she's like a little bit out from it, but I can't imagine what it would be like together working out for all this climate.
So like I work in education at Oh, I don't really know it. I don't really know. Random. As soon as I got it. You're like a shell.
Unboxing, I forgot.
So for my main account, it's like perfect, like first name, underscore last name. Yeah, that's
Mine's just my name with 2 extra letters at the end of it. Same. I'm gonna take one of those lactate pills that I talked about.
Oh man, everyone just went quiet all of a sudden. That was great. I think we're going to start in like a minute. I'm just waiting on a couple of people. But hello to everyone tuning in virtually. I hope this is okay. We haven't done this before, so I'm sorry that there's like a wait, hiccups. We'll figure it out.
It's all lowercase. All lowercase.
I normally snack around like 3 o'clock. I was in a meeting, so I had to drop before, so I had strawberries and I worked out and started getting ready.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll read it. Oh yeah, literally down Go off, I'm here for it.
I think we're good to start. I can hear myself on my phone screaming me out, so sorry in advance. But hello, and welcome to the Parenting Social. Thank you all. Let's clap. Thank you all for being here, and special thanks to those tuning in virtually. Like I said, this is our first attempt at a YouTube live stream, so we apologize for any bumps or hiccups along the way. Can I get the next slide, please? Thank you. So my name is Sam, and I'll properly introduce myself in a minute, but first a quick glance at our schedule. I'd love to start off with a land acknowledgement, which feels especially relevant today since June is Indigenous Peoples Month, but is also just generally good practice. Next slide. So Toronto is the traditional territory of nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples. It is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. We are all grateful to work on these lands, and we encourage you as well to join us in reflecting and learning about the lands that you inhabit. You can visit native-land.ca to find more information. Next slide. Okay, so those of you who attended our socials in the past may remember we used to be a small team of 4. In fact, at last year's virtual social, there was only 3 of us. So I am thrilled now to show you just how much our team has grown, both literally and figuratively, over the last year. You'll meet most of these folks in a minute, but first I want to give a shout out to Megan McKenzie, who designed those totally tubular signs you saw coming in, as well as the raddest of the rad, the Dream Events team, Anna and Yelly, who provided so much support, whether physically or emotionally, over the last little while. And also a shout out to our office services staff who helped set up this room. Yeah, exactly, clap for them, they did a fantastic job. Next slide. Okay, so like I said, I'm Sam, my pronouns are she, her, and I'm the Senior Associate at Marketing and Publicity for the Young Readers team. My staff pick this summer is Don't Want to Be Your Monster, a middle grade debut about 2 vampire brothers, which is usually all I have to say before people are like, yes, please. But because you're all sitting here, I'll give you a little bit more details. These 2 brothers are part of a diverse foster family of vampires, and a vampire hunter rolls into town. The 2 brothers have totally different ways of dealing with this threat, and one of the brothers has actually just found out that his biological family was Jewish. So he's trying to reconcile his newfound Jewish faith with the fact that he's a vampire, he has to drink blood. And what I find really interesting about it is it was written as a response to the anti-Semitic tropes that are often found in vampire mythology, specifically Dracula being the biggest culprit. And also just fun fact, Don't Want to Be Your Monster is a reference to the song Monster Among Men by 5 Seconds of Summer, who I love, so I am here for basically all of this. I see other people in the crowd who also appreciate this reference. Next slide, please. Okay, so here's a quick intro to our Creative Services Manager, Anthony, who we adore, but this type of event is totally not his vibe, so he's not here. But A, his design work is incredible and deserves a shout out, whether it's a printed ad or a bookmark or whatever else he does for us. And B, he left us a summer staff pick, Ghostlight by Kenneth Opel. Many of you may already be familiar with Kenneth Opal's work. I myself have a battered copy of Silverwing still on my shelf from when I was like 12. And this new one, which came out last fall and will be out in paperback this summer, is spectacular. It takes place on Toronto Island, where Gabe is working as a tour guide for a haunted lighthouse until he comes face to face with the ghost. If you're at all familiar with the city, there are some great locations mentioned, including a climactic scene at the CN Tower, which you can't see from this window, but you can see from the window near my desk. And now I will pass it over to Sylvia.
So funny to me.
Hi everyone, I'm Sylvia Pan. I'm the Associate Director of Marketing and Publicity here for the Kids Group. I'm very thrilled to be back in person or hybrid. I mean, this is just a dream come true to have the first event since January 2020. So I'm very emotional and I'm so happy to see people dressed up. So I meet an amazing team here that helped set up this event. And we're just really thankful that we've grown so much and we're going to do so much more in the future. And my staff pick for this summer is Quick Dates and Mooncakes. Personal note, I actually don't love mooncakes, but after reading this, I was like, you know what, maybe there's a second chance here. I did mooncakes, and I was like, actually, the ones I eat might be a little bit dry, but I'm like, these ones, the ones that they try to make in this book are amazing. I loved the story. If you love Heartstoppers, Crazy Rich Asians, this is the book for you. There's fake dating, which is another rom-com trope that I love. What else is there? Well, if you love dogs, obviously, there's something there for aspiring vets. If you love the setting of New York, the Hamptons, it's such a good summer read. I love the puns are sprinkled in it, baking, cooking, like it's all weaved in nicely, nothing is forced. It's such a satisfying read, and sometimes those are so hard to find. So I was so glad to have read this, and I was like, I have to tell everyone at the Penguin Social. So yeah, that's my pick.
I don't know, I lost track of these things. So, thank you, Sylvia. So, I didn't realize it was summer staff picks, and I picked the book that's out in September. But it's before September 21st, so technically, it's okay. So, my book pick is Midnight at the Houdini. This is a book that is essentially the plot of Hotel California by the Eagles, but is written by Delilah S. Dawson, who you might know from books like Star Wars, Phasma, or she wrote Kill the Farm Boy, and we're really excited to have her on the Random House list. So in the book, Anna has always kind of taken a backseat socially to her sister Emily, and then on Emily's wedding night, Anna learns that her sister's going to be moving far away immediately after the wedding. So Anna flees the reception very dramatically, and this is in the middle of a raging storm, which makes it more dramatic. And she discovers a hotel she's never heard of before called the Houdini. So the Houdini is a magical place, as you might imagine. It has velvet couches, which I assume are very hard to clean and a bad idea in a hotel. Marble tile floors, which are easier to clean. Secret restaurants, winding passageways, an air of mystery. And when Anna meets Max at the Houdini, he's an attractive boy, but the only problem is he claims to have never left the Houdini and spent his entire life inside the Houdini. She is still smitten. But Max isn't lying. There is a dark side to the Houdini. Never trust a hotel named after a magician. And the residents can never leave. So when the clock strikes midnight, Anna herself will also be trapped there forever too, unless she can find a way to break free from its magic. But that would also mean she has to abandon Max too. Choices. So there are real like Erin Morgenstern vibes from this book, and we're really excited for people to read them. And I think now I'm passing on to Graciela.
Hello everybody, my name is Graciela and I'm the publicist for the Young Readers League. And my staff pick is For My Heart by Casey West. This is a YA romance with a true dating story with a twist. And it's basically the protagonist, Rennes, somehow overhears a guy getting totally humiliated by his friends because he got catfished. And she somehow decides that she's gonna save the day and say, hey, I'm the online crush that you've been waiting for, even though it's not her. And for me, the selling point for this one is that Ren works at an animal shelter and there's dogs in the cover. That just does it for me. I'll pass it up to Steph.
Hello, everybody. I'm Stephanie. I'm the marketing and publicity coordinator. I'm one of the new people around here. I'm actually from Winnipeg, so I flew in just for you. Otherwise, you guys will just see me online. My staff pick for the summer is That's That Fine. If you're like me, you grew up with Percy Jackson and are obsessed with anything Greek mythology, I even have a tattoo because that's how obsessed I am. So my staff pick is obviously Greek. So this one is about the fates, if you're familiar with some of those stories, and it kind of takes Greek mythology into more of a mystery sort of territory there. So it's, the story is the children of the gods inherit their parents' powers, and in this one it's about a girl and her two sisters, and people disappear, and you have to kind of hunt them down. So lots of fun, and if you're like me who owns multiple copies of all the fabulous things, I have 2 fancy copies already pre-ordered, so, you know, I'm already really in love with it. So, and then, Julia.
Hi everyone. I'm a little short, so I'm going to stand on my TV toes so I can see the online audience as well. My name is Julia. I'm the social media coordinator here. You probably don't know my face, but you've definitely seen my words. I run Freedom Team Canada, Twitter, Instagram, sometimes TikTok, and same with the Thunder Books one. So if you've been DMing that account, you've been talking to me. My summer staff pick is Rain, which is fortunately the final book in the American Royals series. I picked this title because I am obsessed with royal romance. That was one of the things that really got me into contemporary YA, and not fantasy romance and royal. I like contemporary. So I really like the idea of imagining the United States / the world if, you know, the way that we look at democracy didn't actually work, and every country had a king and queen. So this is the final book of the series. If you are interested in third-person, multiple point of view books, this series is really, really awesome for that. With so many tropes, I can't even begin to name them. But if you do like awesome, strong female characters, this is the series for you.
Thank you, Julia. We are going to try this, which, to be honest, I forgot to test if the videos are going to work. So I'm going to cross my fingers. But we do have 3 videos from 3 authors who all have fun summer reads for you guys.
Someone should write it. That's what I was thinking too. So, okay, that's where the water takes us.
Hello, my name is Meg Herzog, and I'm the author of a novel called Friends Like These, which takes place in New York City in 1983, and involves a young woman who moves to New York to take up a job in journalism at a newspaper, very much like the New York Times, possibly. It's pretty much about her learning about work and friendship and living on her own and boyfriends and drinking far too many frozen margaritas. She discovers that her boyfriend is a crazy person, that her best friend is entirely unreliable, that her apartment is full of cockroaches, and that it's possible to get held up at gunpoint in broad daylight in the West Village on a Sunday afternoon, which coincidentally is something that happened to me when I lived in New York City in 1983. Anyway, you can tell by the background here that I loved New York so much that I moved 3,000 miles away to a place with no tall buildings whatsoever, in a completely different
We're gonna have some fun. It's Gilly time. So we're gonna have 3 of those giveaways over the course of the presentation. And this first one is you're gonna get a copy of Friends Like This and a beach towel. So right here you see my trivia question, and when I say go, you're gonna stand up. I'm gonna choose one of you, and you're gonna yell if the answer is in the 80s or in the 90s. Okay? Okay. Romantic comedy Pretty Woman premieres in North American theaters in which decade? Go. There you go. Yeah? Correct. I got the whole winner. You get a wish
I 100% love it. I've seen it, but I saw it once.
I'm sorry. So yeah, I would really like, we're going to have the first of our in-person authors up now, and I'd really like to introduce you to debut author Jackie Kalalea, whose debut YA novel comes out next week, June 6th. It's a really fun coming-of-age story and contemporary romance with an autistic lead character. It's getting a lot of buzz already, so I'd really like to welcome to the stage to talk a bit more about it, Jackie, to talk about Something More.
Hello. I've said a lot already. So it's about, Something More is about a 15-year-old Palestinian Canadian girl named Jessie Cassis, who is diagnosed as autistic just weeks before starting high school. And she sort of takes the advice of her psychologist and comes up with a list of goals because she's determined to have a completely fresh start for high school. So some of those goals include making new friends, getting her parents to calm down, kissing the cute boy in her science class, and getting in the drama club. But making friends is hard, and her parents are not flexible, and boys are confusing, and the drama club has an ageist rule against 9th graders. And so as the story goes on, you know, she tries to find where she belongs. She falls in love, and it gets complicated. It's a romance, it's coming of age, it's contemporary, and I hope you all enjoy it.
Thank you so much, Jackie. And I should tell our audience here that you can catch Jackie at a special YA panel at Indigo Yorkdale on Thursday, June 15th. We're calling it Sad Girl Summer. Our host, Dyla Fuentes Morales, who is here, right there. She will be hosting and interviewing Jackie, as well as two other authors, Maya Amaya, the author of When It All Syncs Up, and Louisa Onaman, the author of The Melancholy of Summer. So yeah, we're working with two other publishers for this really great YA event. But now we're going to do another giveaway for a fabulous, well, for a copy of Something More and a fabulous tote bag, which I know you all want because you all have so many arts to dig on. So we have another happening. You have to tell us what decade it happened in. Stand up when you know the answers. What decade were all the members of BTS born in? I think I saw you. Were you first? Yes. 90s is correct. Every single member born in the 90s. James, the oldest, was born in 1991. Right, and I'll pass it back to Sam. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm very excited to introduce you to Sheena. I feel like Sheena and I bonded only because her event was the very last thing I worked on in 2020 before everything shut down. Like literally March, was it 11th, 10th, something like that. Literally days before everything shut down. So I think that really cemented us in an author-publicist relationship. And I'm very glad she could be with us today. She didn't get to do this in 2020. So I'm not going to tell you too much about the book. All I'm going to tell you is that Sheena wrote this in like a week, and that remains like the thing that I'm most jealous of in my life, that she managed to write a whole book in a very short amount of time. But I'm going to pass it over to Sheena to tell you a little bit more about Fight-Eyed Girl.
Thank you. Can you guys see me? Am I too short to just stand here? I'll go for my seat. So I'm so honored to be here, really, because this book came out like March 2020, and then everything shut down, and I never got to do any live events for it. So this is really special. It's 3 years later, I get to do this to see you guys and actually in person tell people about the book. So Fight Like a Girl, I wrote as a fever dream. I was in Rome, and I was supposed to be working on another book. And just like it was a heat wave, it was August, I think, and I just was like, I just got mad. And in about 4 to 5 days, I had the bones of this crazy, crazy book that didn't really make any sense to me. It was just going. And what it's about is a 17-year-old Muay Thai fighter who starts to suspect that her mother might have had a hand in her father's recent death. And all she wants to do is compete and train because she is a fighter. She loves Muay Thai. The sport gave a lot to her. It was her community. It was her safe space. And she just wants to continue with it and train and compete. But she thinks her mom might be a murderer. And then all the ladies in her life, right? These ladies who are supposed to be, doing lady things, they start behaving very weirdly, and she's like, are these ladies killers? What's going on with the women in my life? And so she starts looking into it, and she starts to investigate, and things kind of get a little heated when her mom all of a sudden has this new man in her life, and she starts to think, is he in danger? Do I like him? Why is he here? What is she doing to these men? And so all of this is happening during her very intense training and competition season. And it's basically just a love letter to Toronto. I grew up here, and I love the city, and especially the East End and set in Scarborough. And also to the sport of Muay Thai, which I've trained on and off for, I guess, now it's 15 years. I'm very old. So I've been training Muay Thai for about 15 years now, and I trained mostly at this gym in Scarborough, and I just sort of, as a writer, kind of sit around and watch the fighters, but not in a creepy way, like just me going. And my best friend from high school owns it, and so I spent a lot of time in these gyms, and the inspiration for this novel, and I think that's why it came about so quickly, came from that experience of just being in this like training, competing environment, and just being inspired by the sport. So yeah, I
I don't know what to say about a book that's been out for 30 years, actually, but I hope you might check it out, and I'm just really honored to be here and get to finally talk about it in person. Thank you, Sheena. We will have our third and final giveaway. So we have a copy of the book here, which you could get signed by Sheena herself. And we are also offering a gift card to a bookstore of your choice. It could either be Indigo, if you want to promote a certain indie, absolutely. You just let me know afterwards and we will get it to you somehow. So again, you know the drill by now. Just stand up when you know the answer. The first Grammy presented for Best Rap Performance.
80s.
You are correct. It was the 80s. Do you know which one? Because I just learned this a couple of days ago.
I don't. I can't play that.
It was Will Smith and DJ Jazzy Jeff. Yes. All right, so those of you who have followed us for a while may already know about the Penguin 10, which is our 10 YA titles to read in the fall. And this year, because we're all a bunch of middle grade fans as well, we decided to do something a little bit different. We're also introducing the middle grade 5. I literally could not have picked a better book to start this campaign with. It works perfectly for this event in particular, because it is Rosie Frost and the Falcon Queen by Jerry Hallwell Horner, aka Ginger Spice herself. It is the perfect book to start with. So, newly orphaned Rosie Frost is sent to the mysterious Bloodstone Island, where she enrolls in a school for extraordinary teens, which is also a sanctuary for endangered species. Mean girls, family secrets, and a threat to the island all plague Rosie, but entering the Falcon Queen gangs could be her way out. This is a classic fantasy adventure story sure to spice up your life in all the best ways. I'll pass it to Evan.
You'll all want to be reading that book. Sorry. So yeah, my book is The Portal Keeper. So this is the Mississauga Book 4 by David A. Robertson. David A. Robertson, you may know from this series. He's now on our staff at Hundred as editorial director for a new imprint that's focused on Indigenous creators, and he's signing up creators as we speak, probably at this very minute. But this is the latest installment of his hit Mississauga series, which is sort of an Indigenous take on a Chronicles of Narnia type epic that he based on pre-Sky stories. So in this latest installment, while exploring World's End, an area in Ski where they just discovered, Morgan and Emily begin to sort of develop their relationship, while Morgan's brother Eli starts to struggle to understand he has found a new power where he can has the ability to locate portals. And so the whole gang also discovers a new village called Monistic, where the animal beings who live there are going missing, and so they're trying to uncover what is behind this. So this is the fourth and newest book in the series. It also features an exciting new cover direction, which you're seeing for the first time of anyone here, with illustrations by Winona Nelson. We haven't revealed these anywhere yet, so please, I know you're taking photos, but don't share those photos with anyone on social just yet, because we're doing a cover reveal next week. This is an exclusive look. But David has twice won the Governor General's Award for Children's Illustrated Book and been named Children's Storyteller of the Year by the Globe and Mail. He's also very active in the fight against book bans here in Canada. His own book, The Great Bear Was Banned, or was removed from schools in the Durham District School Board. He's also been involved with battles of the Brandon School Board in Manitoba. So we're really excited to have the fourth book of this series out in October. And you're stuck with me once again. So Project F is a new book by Jean Duprow, who's the author of the best-selling The City of Ember. You might remember the book, or hopefully not the lackluster movie starring Bill Murray. The City of Ember is a really excellent post-apocalyptic adventure about an underground city threatened by aging infrastructure and corruption, kind of like Toronto. But it's a modern classic by this point. And she's now back with a new post-apocalyptic story, perhaps even more post-apocalyptic than before. So it's set hundreds of years in the future where life is simple because cars, planes, televisions, phones, all those things, they're all things of the past. Climate disaster has caused radical changes in human society, and technology is quite simple. But then 13-year-old Keith uncovers a secret. It's a mysterious mission known only as Project F. It's an advanced technology that is going to change the world, and the F stands for fun. Okay, maybe not. But it's exactly the kind of fun adventure Keith has always wanted, but it also involves a lot of danger, and Keith has to kind of figure out how much danger is this adventure worth. Is he willing to risk his own life for himself, maybe for his family, for his community, or what about the entire world? And I think I have one more middle grade to tell you about. That's right. It's Like a Charm by Elle McNichol. Elle McNichol first came to my attention with her middle grade novel, A Kind of Spark, which was a book in which a Scottish neurodivergent girl finds a kindred spirit in the victims of witch trials many centuries ago. And I'm really a fan of anything that seeks to memorialize witches. And she's back, Nicole herself is autistic, and she's back with a fantasy this time. And it's featuring, again, a neurodivergent kid who lives in Scotland, Ramia. And Ramia Knox has dyspraxia, which is a chronic condition that causes difficulties with motor skills and coordination. But as she gets older, she also learns that she can see magic. And soon, a dog statue comes to life. Ramia follows the dog, White Rabbit style, and discovers a world she thought existed only in fairy tales. So she kind of enters this world of trolls, witches, vampires, my personal favorite, kelpies. They all lurk in the shadows of Edinburgh, and they're hiding from the most dangerous creature of all, which is, in this world, sirens. And the sirens use their persuasive call to convince those around them to do their bidding. The sirens start to rise in power, and it's up to Ramia to figure out, can she save the day with her gift of being able to see magic. And I'm going to pass it over to Sam, who will reveal the last of the Middle Grade 5.
Thank you, Evan. I am super stoked for this one. Jamie Oliver, internationally beloved chef, is releasing his first children's book. Billy and the Giant Adventure is a magical adventure starring a boy named Billy, who along with his friends finds himself in a magical forest full of unusual creatures, a long-lost mythical city, fantastical machines, and of course, mouth-watering feasts. Jamie himself is dyslexic, and so this book uses a particular font to make it easier for kids with learning disabilities to focus and read the text on their own, which I think is a really nice touch. And find me later so I can tell you the very long story about how working on this book is a full circle moment for my personal publishing journey. But now we are ready for the Penguin 10. Alright, first up is the House of Marion. I'm not sure if it's pronounced Marion or Marion or a secret third way, but in any case, if you like your YA to be irresistibly romantic with a splash of magic and dark academia, then boy is this the book for you. Quell and her mother have always tried hiding the dark magic in their veins, but when Quell is forced to join a magical society to keep her mother safe from a hired assassin, she finds herself undergoing 3 rites of membership in the hopes of burying her forbidden talents. But then she meets Jordan, her brooding mentor, who also happens to be an assassin in training. Author J.L. weaves a decadent story full of mystery, betrayal, and yes, romance, and we can't wait to shout about this with all of you. Next, I think, is Steph.
Hello again. So one thing you should know about me is I'm obsessed with horror. Books or movies, the gorier the better. So if you're like me, especially in the gory front for horror, this one's for you. You guys might already know this author. This is Andrew Joseph White. So they are known for their, I just messed up my, I'm on a roll, guys. Hell Followed With Us. So, yeah, no, I'm stumbling. So, if you're more of like a historical sort of horror fan, this one's for you. This one takes place in London, 1883, and this world, veiled between the dead and the living, is a little thin, so you can see spirits, you can talk to them. There's a whole society dedicated to them. In this world, our main character is set to be the wife of the person of the society and does not want to be that, would rather be cutting open dead bodies, among other things. So a lot of fun, especially for me. And then the next one, I think, is also me and my personal friend here. So the next one, Penguin 10, is House of Ash and Bone by Julie Sutter, who we actually have here today to talk about.
I haven't been out among this many people in a long time, so I did something I've never done before and actually wrote this down. So give me 1 second to find my file. All right, there we go. I'm all set. Just before I begin, thank you so much to Tundra Books and Steph for getting me here and inviting me. This is such an honor. This is incredible to see so many people in a room together at a bookish event. I'm a librarian and an author, so I've really been missing these opportunities to get around fellow book nerds and just geek out about the printed page for a little bit. So thank you all for being here. In fact, this is dangerous. I want to get a picture. I'm going to leave my I've not been out among people in a long time. This is a terrible idea. But again, I need proof that I was here and you all were too. So let's do this. Let's make it really lively. And everybody, on the count of 3, shout out your favorite 80s or 90s movie.
Oh, God.
Okay, here we go. All right. 3, 2, 1, go!
10 things I hate about you!
It's the best one. So long.
Somebody said Ghostbusters, right?
She's all that.
All right, House of Ashen Bone comes out September 5th, just in time for the greatest season and holiday of the year. Halloween is the perfect time to read a story like this, but if you get your hands on a copy tonight, I'd say spring and summer will be just fine too. If you buy it, it's okay about the grain of salt. This is my 17th book for young readers, but I still feel like a new kid on the block who's just starting out all over again. This book has many personal firsts for me. It's my debut young adult novel. It's my first book with a new publisher since 2010. It's my first hardcover release, and it's also my first audiobook, and so many other little firsts as well. So this is truly near and dear to me. But the questions I'm typically asked by readers have so far remained the same. At the top of that list is, why do you write horror? And more specifically, why do you write horror? Kids. My answer is simple. It hasn't changed over time. It hasn't changed over a decade of writing scary stories to tell in the dark or the light, whatever floats your boat. Horror is important. Horror is vital. For all of us, but perhaps most for young readers. Horror gives kids a safe space to work through real-world fears. It equips kids with the tools needed to navigate problems in their day-to-day lives. When kids can get through a really scary book, look at that cover. If they can actually pick it up, look at that cover, and then get through it, well, then it just makes it that much easier to get through real-life challenges. So, I lost my spot. I knew this was a bad idea. I should have just winged it. And they'll feel a little more confident. The great thing about a book is, if you get too scared, you can always just stick it in the freezer. I'm going to explain that reference just in case it's part of any 80s, 90s trivia. Case in point regarding the importance of the genre, I've always found it to be quite telling that sales of horror books and movies spiked shortly after traumatic world events such as wars, famines, pandemics. We're seeing a surge right now. People go to horror when things in the real world are scary. But as important as I believe horror to be, it's also important not to forget how much pure, unadulterated fun the genre can be too. That's why I write horror for kids. That's why I wrote House of Ashen Bone. It's the story of 17-year-old Josephine Jagger, second oldest daughter in a family of 7, a talented writer with the ability to hear people's thoughts and even get into their minds. Despite being part of such a large family, Josie has always felt a little alone thanks to her abilities. But when her family inherits an old house deep in the woods of Vermont and travels there for a visit, she discovers she's not the only person who can control people's thoughts and minds. The house used to belong to a witch named Dorcas who died 300 years ago, but that doesn't mean Dorcas rests in peace. Far from it. She is very much alive. Well, alive might not be the best word choice, and she is hungry. House of Ashen Bone is a dark book, no good with that, but like all good horror stories, there's still light to be found in the darkness. I hope you all enjoy it, and thank you for your time.
And I'm going to introduce our next penguin team, Goddess Brown, and we have the author right here, Shade. And before I give Shade the microphone, I do want to quote her from one of her interviews with Wiki Diverse Books. Because she said that There was nothing more exciting than a woman with a weapon in her hand. Well, nothing more exciting than a woman in an awesome outfit with great hair and a deadly weapon. So, thank you. Hi, so I'm Shade Kutem. Goddess Crown is a fantasy novel about a 16-year-old girl who has been raised in very mysterious circumstances in a very secluded location far from society by a small group of guardians. She doesn't know anything about her family, but when mercenaries attack her home and murder the people who have been raising her and force her to go on the run, she finds out that she is heir to the throne of the country that she lives in, which is Gala. And so now she wants to know who wants her dead, who's responsible for killing her caretakers, the only family that she's known, where are her parents, and what were the circumstances that they gave her up in. And the answers to these questions mean that she has to go to the capital city, Port Caspian, which is the home of the royal court, a place of great beauty, great wealth, but also great danger, because there's a lot of backstabbing, a lot of political intrigue. So while she's there, can she stay alive long enough to find the answers to her questions? And also, she's finding out what she wants to do with herself. Does she want to be heir to this? Does she want to rule this country that has never had a female heir and doesn't really value women at all? So it's a sort of adventure story with a bit of mystery in there. And it's a story that I wrote the first draft for National Novel Writing Month, which is when you try to write 50,000 words in a month. So I wrote it and I was like, great, done, put it aside. And I wasn't going to come back to it, but there was something about this character who was so daring and bold and outspoken and brilliant with weapons, but also kind of awkward because she'd been raised in, away from society. That kept on calling me back, and every few years I'd pick it up again and have another play with and be like, where is her story going? So many things changed about the story. The era changed, the location changed, the character's name changed, characters changed, but her personality stayed very much the same, and her bodyguard friend, that the only person that she trusts, stayed loyally by her side, and eventually got to the end of the story. And I'm so happy that I did, because it's great to be able to share her story and her world with all of you. So I hope that those of you who read it will enjoy it. Thank you.
Alright, so I said I like Percy Jackson, so obviously they have me because of this one. So if you're as excited as me, well, first of all, we have a new cover for the series. I'm obsessed, so I have every single edition again. But for this one, this is the 6th book in the series. Yes, it is the 6th one. They're calling it that for sure. In this one, Percy has his greatest challenge yet. He's preparing for college. So in this case, he's like a referral from his uncle, so Zeus, and he has to go through challenges to do so. So not only is he trying to survive his senior year, he has to go on a giant adventure once again. And you don't know, he's always stating it though, so I'm kind of going to just include that to his list. Yeah, this one comes out in September. I'm extremely excited about this one. And we'll probably own at least 4 other copies in there too. So.
Okay, so the next one is by Clark Magai, and it's Catfish Rolling. So it is said that there's a catfish under Japan, and when it rolls, the land rises and falls. So that's what Sora was told after she lost her mother to an earthquake so powerful that it actually cracked time itself. So years later, Sora is conducting her own research. She's working with time experts and trying to figure out what happened back then. And her father goes missing. He disappears. And she has no choice but to venture deep into the abandoned time zones to find him and this catfish. So, check it out.
So I mentioned earlier that you'll always catch me reading a contemporary romance, but another thing you might always catch me reading is anything involving magic. And so I'm really happy to be talking about The Spells We Cast. This is from New York Times bestselling author Jason June, and is a story of spell-slinging, lasso-swinging, and star-crossed lovers that's perfect for fans of Cemetery Boys and Carry On. Even Adam Silvera, the #1 New York Times bestselling author of They Both Die at the End, said, and I quote, "the most magical and swoony page turner I've read in ages." So a little bit more, if you are interested in obviously some magic, some fighting to save or lose your powers, this is the book for you, which comes out October 3rd. Where did it go?
There you go. All right, great. So yeah, I think many of you here are probably familiar with Nicolette and David Yoon's Joy Revolution imprint. It's an imprint focused on romance novels featuring characters of color and written by authors of color. And this October, they're publishing their first romantic fantasy, or romantasy, if you will, by debut author Angela Montoya. And even better, it's about pirates. Can I get a R?
R.
Yes, they come at the film festival. I like pirates so much. I went to pirate camp as a child. Dramatic experience. This is not like that. So Rosalinda is trapped on Sinner's Isle, which is not, contrary to my initial impression, a reality show on TV, but is instead an island filled with young women called Majestic. Beautiful witches who are loathed by society for their dangerous magic, yet revered by powerful men who want to use them for their own ends. So at 18, Rosalinda will be offered as a big prize at this year's offering, which is this sort of fiesta for the wealthy and powerful to engage in drink, damsels, debauchery. So I wasn't totally wrong in thinking it could be a Hayu show. But Rosalinda knows that whoever purchases her at the offering will force her to use her vicious phantoms to destroy whoever or anything they want her to destroy. So this is where enters Mariano, who's the handsome Prince of Pirates, who has been marooned on Sinner's Isle after an attack from the king's ships, left only with his enchanted chain. I assume clothing as well, but clothing and an enchanted chain. I mean, that would have been a first edit, but so the enchanted chain is meant to lead him to his heart's desire, but instead he falls into the hands of and butts heads with, you guessed it, Rosalinda. And together they must outwit each other and their enemies and escape Sinner's Isle. And I'm going to pass it to Julia, I believe.
I'm back. So in the last, alright, so I started last with saying, I like contemporary romance, but I also like magic, but I love contemporary romance. So we have Ali Hazelwood's debut YA book coming out November 7th. I know it's so far away, but I finished it last night. I stayed up until 1 a.m. every single night, 3 nights in a row, just to finish this book because it had me in such a trance. If you liked The Queen's Gambit, you are going to love Check and Mate because it is The Queen's Gambit for YA with so much romance and a really hot. Just, if you also really want to know more about chess and have your brain kind of like go into that chess mode, this is the book for you. It features a really strong female-led character named Mallory Greenleaf, who just, wanted to give up chess. Thought she'd never play it again, was done with it, until she beat the #1 chess player in the world, who happens to be very good-looking. So if you like Ali Hazelwood, which I'm sure many people in this room do, this book will not disappoint, especially if you're also a YA fan. And I cannot wait until November 7th so I can scream about it with everyone. And I don't know what passing on.
Holy, the trouble came back.
So I have the privilege of presenting the last famous book, which is Mortal by Christopher Paolini. This one's coming out on November 11th. So Mortal is set roughly 1 year after the events of Inheritance, in a time where the world is no longer safe for the dragon rider Mortal and his dragon Thorn. An evil king has been overturned and they are left to face the consequences of the role that they play in his reign of terror. So they are hated, exiled, and they're out of society. But when Mortal senses that something wicked is lurking in the shadows of the Legacia, he begins an epic journey into lands of both familiar and untraveled, where both Mortog and Thorn must use every weapon in their arsenal to find and outwit a mysterious witch. A witch that doesn't seem all that good. You know, witches usually don't mean anything good. So Mortog is actually the perfect book to enter the world of Aragon, for those of you who didn't read it back in the day, or for you to return to this wonderful world that I've been waiting for many years. So we're really excited for that, and that wraps up our Penguin Team Picks.
First, I think we have to ask, can we ask our 4 authors to come up and sit on the stage in these chairs? They're going to help us with our participatory fun. Says the word fun like it was a test. Oh, yes. All right, so Sam's going to hand them all paddles. You pass that to you. No pressure. I'll move out of the way. Yeah, every author gets a panel, or paddle. As you can see, the paddles say 80s on one side. Can I sit here? Okay. Yeah, they don't want to see us. So this is 80s on one side, 90s on the other. We're going to list a bunch of happenings. And you're going to have to tell us if you thought it happened in the 80s or 90s. And I've been told you and the audience can help them, like Price is Right style, shout out. Did you win anything? Absolutely nothing. It doesn't matter. Yeah. So, question first. The first episode of The Simpsons airs.
80s. It was 80s.
Oh, it was 80s. It's kind of a tricky question. So the first episode aired December 17th, 1989. And the second episode didn't air till May 1990, but technically 80s.
Second question. Super Nintendo released in North America.
90s.
They got it. All right, next question. Euro Disney.
Euro Disney opens in Paris. The answer is the 90s.
All right. I see at least one person, one author who should definitely get this. Nirvana's album Nevermind released. You all got it, yes, 1996.
Winter Olympics take place in Calgary.
80s. Cool Runnings. Cool Runnings.
Yeah, Cool Runnings and Eddie the Eagle, right?
Yeah.
Mighty Morrison Power Rangers. Airs in North America. It was the 90s, that's okay. There's no... All right. Our first, the first laser eye surgery. Only Sade got it. 1980. 1988.
Pop superstar Taylor Swift.
80s. 89.
No, I'm still at 90. I'm gonna go like 90.
He also retired for the second time. Rick Astley's single "Never Gonna Give You Up" is released. Yes, that was the easy one. The Berlin Wall separating East and West Germany falls.
80s.
You got it. That's right. November 9th, 1989. Oh, this one. I know they're all like right. I mean, technically it wasn't fully demolished until 1990, so. Right, the novel Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton is published.
90.
This is a book event, sir. When did the book come out? It was November 20th, 1990.
There's a lot.
That's correct. November 17th, 1989, just a week after the Berlin Wall fell. What a time to be in Berlin that week.
Give a little round of applause. All right, that was a lot of fun. Thank you all. But that's all, folks. Let's once again give a big round of applause to our authors and our presenters. And thank you all for coming. It's been wonderful doing this in person. I know there were a couple of bumps along the way, but we'll figure it out eventually. Catch me next year making the exact same mistakes. And thanks also to everyone tuning in virtually. We'll now end the live stream and can start author signings in a moment. And thank you all.